Why do we abuse our children? Why do we abuse our children? Well, before we even get into this, we need to be clear on the fact that we do abuse our children at all in the first place. This video is not about sexual abuse, and it is not about hitting our children. It's not even about verbally abusing them. These are all horrific examples of child abuse that do happen, as we know. But these are the extreme examples. The extreme examples of an abuse that is less extreme, but entirely ubiquitous. An abuse of our own children that is thoroughly baked in to human culture. The abuse of our children that is a legal requirement of our culture. A legal requirement that is enforced by our culture. It is a legal requirement of our culture that we abuse our children. It is a legal requirement of our culture that we abuse our children. You may not even want to abuse your children, possibly for a very small number of you. But even if you don't want to, it is a legal requirement that you do. And you will get into trouble if you don't. You will get into trouble if you do not abuse your children. And you are required to provide evidence that you are abusing your children enough to satisfy the state, enough to satisfy our culture. There are minimal levels of child abuse that you, as a parent, are required to meet. And if you do not meet these minimal levels of abuse, the state will have to step in and make sure these minimal levels are met for you. Because heaven forbid a child in this world should make it to adulthood without having been thoroughly and systematically abused throughout their entire childhood. I guess you guys already get by now what I am talking about. But let's spell it out. For any of you that are doing that thing, that, what's he talking about? I would never abuse my child. Thing. When the abuser of a child wishes for the abuse of the child to be a prolonged and ongoing thing, which is what abusers of children do tend to wish for the most, what is it that the abuser tells the child? Well, the abuser tells the child that it is love. Yes? That's what you tell your children, is it not? when you are abusing them. You tell them it is love. You tell them Mummy and Daddy love you, and what Mummy and Daddy are doing to you is Mummy and Daddy loving you because it is for your own good. And Mummy and Daddy love you so much. This is how one goes about ensuring that one's abuse of one's own child may be an ongoing thing rather than a one-off event. You tell the child that the abuse is actually love and that they should be grateful for it. Our society, our culture hates our children and takes systematic measures to ensure that our children will hate and abuse their children. And so, what is required for all children in our society is that as soon as they are anywhere near old enough to be put into an institution, that is what must happen by law. Our culture insists on this. Our culture does not just suggest and encourage that we put our children into an institution at the very earliest possible age. Our culture insists that this be done. And if you do not do it, well, it will do it for you. And how is this even remotely possible for a society that claims to love its own children? It is possible because this is a society, a worldwide human culture that was, at the earliest possible age, placed into an institution and told it was love. It is possible that we abuse our children in this way and walk about our daily lives not even seeing it as us abusing our children because we were institutionalized from the earliest moments of our life that we could be effectively institutionalized. We were abused and told it was love. And so is it any wonder that we abuse our own children in this way and call it love? Is my saying this pissing you off? Is my saying this pissing you off? Are you feeling angry at me for saying these words? If you are, well, firstly, I'm glad you're feeling something. I'm glad you're still capable of feeling something. But I'd encourage you to ask yourself the question, who is this anger really for? Because I haven't said anything here that is not true. Who is your anger really for? Who should it be for? Our culture? Or for you yourself? But we send our children to school because we love them. We do it out of love. Okay. Well, let's take that thought seriously for a moment. Let's go along with the idea that our society, our culture, our governments force our children into an institution to be institutionalized at the earliest possible age because our society, our culture, our governments love our children and only want what is best for them. What is a school for? A school is for education. A school is for giving our children the skills and knowledge that will help them to effectively earn a living for themselves in this world. And it would be so damaging to a child to not be given these skills and knowledge. That would be abusive. This is why education is compulsory. Is it not? Education is compulsory for our children because to deny them the right to it would be an abusive thing to the child. And our society, our culture, our governments love our children too much to allow such an abuse to take place. Oh my goodness, that's such a relief. And here I was, thinking we were institutionalizing our children for bad reasons. Okay, so good. We do it for good reasons. Wonderful. But I do have a small question. Why is it that the model of compulsory education for children that is employed worldwide costs massively more money to do this badly when doing it well, when doing a much, much, much better job of it would cost less money, massively less money. Why is this? In a world where countries increasingly openly profiteer off of the health needs of their own people because they care more about money than the well-being of their own people, to the point where they barely even bother to pretend otherwise. Why is this? Why are our governments so willing to spend such huge amounts of the money they would rather have for themselves on providing, maintaining, and enforcing an education system that does a bad job of the loving function it is meant to serve? I mean, they could provide non-compulsory education much, much more cheaply And it would be far, far, far more effective, because the children would be attending the classes of their choice as and when they felt ready and motivated to learn the knowledge or skill in question. Children are naturally keen to be good at stuff, naturally eager to compete with and stand alongside their peers, naturally enthusiastic about joining in with society. We know this about children. So if our society, our culture, our governments really do love our children so much, despite the fact that they love money so much, that they are increasingly willing to openly profiteer off of the health needs of the population, why do they not employ a model that does it better, far, far, far better than the compulsory model, and also far, far, far more cheaply? What's all that about, eh? What could possibly be going on with that? In the non-compulsory model, our children would be able to follow their natural passions and talents at their own actual pace of development and would become far more effective adults far more quickly. Adults who are self-determining and confident forces in this world, all for far less money. And they would not have to suffer the abuse of being institutionalized from the earliest possible age. Our governments would have more money for other things, more money for themselves, which we know our governments like, and they would be demonstrating some genuine, actual, real love of our children at the same time. So what is up with that, do you think? What could possibly be up with that? Well, I guess somebody, somewhere, has some kind of answer to that question. And I dare say it is going to have something to do with it all being for our own good. All something to do with, you may not understand this right now because you are just a child and this is complicated grown-up stuff. But it really is because we love you.